In the previous videos that I presented, I've looked primarily at specific physical issues such as hamstrings, shoulders, neck, etc. In this video, what I want to look at is a more general issue around lack of mobility. In today's life, we benefit very much from mechanical assistance in pretty much everything that we do. Whilst this has brought a great deal of ease to our lives, it's also brought the problem of lack of activity, lack of movement primarily. Some people address this by engaging in sporting activities of various sorts, which is fine. But for some people that's not desirable or even particularly sometimes not even possible. And while sporting activity, aerobic, weightlifting, etc. is definitely good for us, not being able to engage in those doesn't mean you can't do anything to help your health, help your general well-being. Part of that process is just the nature of the movements we do day to day. Because of technological developments, most of our world now tends to exist in a small space directly in front of us, whether that's a phone, a tablet, TV screen, or a car steering wheel. Our entire world exists in a very small space. And in turn, that tends to mean our physical activities tend to exist in a very small space. And all of those activities can be done sat down. So sitting is one of the curses of health. It puts the body in a very unnatural position. Humans were not designed to sit. We either stand, crouch, or lie down. Sitting is not a natural position for us to be in, albeit we find it very comfortable. The aim of the exercises that I'm going to go through have numerous facets. The first and obvious aspect is moving muscles and joints through their ranges of motion, and that's a really important aspect. Because of the aforementioned sitting and technology use, our bodies today tend to be involved in very small, precise movements, not things we were really designed to do. Human bodies are great at walking. We can run a bit, we can climb, we can throw, we can carry, whether we're carrying food, wood, water, or our children. These are the kind of activities that our bodies evolved to deliver. Asking our bodies instead to sit and basically live our lives by manipulating our thumbs is not what we were designed to do. So engaging the body in big movements is really important. Another aspect that tends to get overlooked is that of fluid movement. There's both the movement of blood and also the movement of lymphatic fluid. Most people are familiar with the movement of blood in that they know the heart pumps blood out to the extremities and then the veins move the blood back towards the heart. There's less familiarity with both the lymphatic system and what the lymphatic system actually does. The lymph system is adjacent to but separate from the blood system. At the extremities, and here's a diagram of a theoretical extremity, you can see that the blood system, the arterial system, transfers blood into the venous system through capillaries. Those capillaries are so small that some of the blood fluid actually escapes from the capillaries into the surrounding cell tissue. And some of that fluid finds its way into the lymph system, the lymph capillaries. And in turn, that system returns the lymphatic fluid, which is essentially the clear plasma type fluid, back up towards the center of the body into larger vessels, which then transfer the fluid back up towards the lungs and the heart, and from the heart through to the main internal organs. The extreme lymph system, on the extremities, requires movement of the body to promote the movement of lymphatic fluid. That can be movement in terms of the adjacent arterial pulse beat, twitching of muscles, or in day-to-day activity, just general movement, walking, stretching, etc. People often experience swelling in the feet and in the ankles. This is indicative of the fact the fluid in the lymph system is not moving efficiently, primarily because of lack of movement and also sometimes restrictions, for instance, through tight socks or footwear and such like. So our aim here is to move the fluid by stretching the extremities, the hands and the feet, the calf muscles, the forearm muscles, and then bending the torso, opening the joints, of the hips, the elbows, the shoulders and the knees. This diagram shows the general layout of the lymphatic system, and you can see at the knees, the hips, the armpits and the elbows and the neck, there are collections of points where the lymph accumulates, and these are called lymph nodes. They act as filters for the lymph fluid, and also they're an important part of our immune system, where the B and T cells sample the fluids looking for pathogenic items that may harm the body. Some of the movements that we'll be looking at involve the extension and compression of these major points of the body, of the major joints. And this helps to encourage the flow of lymphatic system through the nodes back into the main system, and from there back towards the heart. So we're moving the joints, we're moving the muscles, and through both those we're moving both the muscles, the tendons, the joint capsules themselves, and also the fluids that pass through those joints. These movements can be useful for anybody engaged in any kind of sporting activity as part of a warm-up routine, and I teach them as part of my Tai Chi classes and other martial arts classes. But even if you're not taking part in any kind of sporting activity, these movements alone can be really helpful in invigorating the body and getting the circulation working. So even if you're not able to take part in sporting activity, which might involve elevated heart rates or resistance training, doing these movements can be very helpful. One particular point where they'll be helpful, if you find yourself immobilized for a period of time through illness, a bad cold or the flu or similar, when you're able to get out of bed, just doing a few of these exercises can really help to reinvigorate the body, wake up the systems, get the circulation working, and generally improve your recovery process. So I would encourage you to practice these so that you're familiar with them, do them on a regular basis, and if you do find yourself in a post-recovery position after an illness, then doing these exercises can be really helpful. All muscles in the body link from one to the other in a continuity, and although we tend to learn them as separate identifying muscles, and people who study therapies and doctors, nurses, etc., they learn the muscles almost by rote, one by one. In practice, they don't function one by one, they function as a chain. So it's really important to engage the muscles as a chain. When you're doing these exercises, another important aspect to consider is the quality of the breathing. What we're trying to do when we breathe is to encourage relaxation in the body, but also we're trying to encourage deep respiration, to encourage good oxygenation within the blood, and also good blood flow. One of the effects of deep breathing is it changes the pressure between the lower abdomen and the upper thoracic areas. When you're breathing in, the pressure changes, and this helps to stimulate the flow of both venous blood and lymph back towards the heart. So good respiration really helps with relaxation, but also helps with that functional movement of fluids through the body. As we go through these exercises, what I want you to really focus on is the importance of good form, not stretching and straining. It's not a gym routine. We're not looking to get specifically stronger, although it will help with strength over time. That's not the primary objective. Looking at easy movement, easy relaxation, getting the body to engage. Now, as we go through these exercises, as I repeat them, if you're going to copy them, I suggest you do so with care, and also initially only do a few repetitions. And if you have the opportunity, do it in front of a mirror where you can observe your own form, or record yourself on your mobile phone, whatever, so you can see that you're making the correct shapes. That's really important. Now, as we start these exercises, one of the things that's important to consider is your footwear. Ideally, you can do this either in bare feet or a flat-soled shoe. The shoes are important simply because you want the soles of your feet, the muscles of your feet to be working. If you wear a trainer with a thick sole, that tends to separate your feet from the ground, and the shoe tends to assist in the movement, which is not what we're after. We want the muscles of the body to be doing the movement. So as we go through these, they're very simple, and you can just replay them to ensure that you're happy with the general shapes that we're making. As we start off, ensure your feet are at shoulder width, and ideally you want your feet pointing directly forwards. This is because we want to be engaging the muscle at the back of the leg, and if you stand with your toes pointing out, you'll tend not to do that quite so well. So the feet at hip width, shoulders relaxed, the chin should be very slightly drawn in to help the neck straighten. The first exercise is very simple. We're simply going to soften the knees, bring the hands in front, so you're lifting the ribs, opening the armpits, push the palms so the palms are being gently stretched. Notice the elbows are not locking on this, we're just loosening off. Sink, so now we're slightly closing the knees, stretching the ankles, and lifting again. With this exercise, the objective, the breathing should feel natural, and what you should find, you should slip into a position where you find that you're breathing in as you lift. So as the ribs expand, the breath fills, and as the ribs lower, the breath sinks. So you're breathing in as you lift, pushing up, lungs full, breathing out as you lower. So this from the side. So again, as you lift, breathing in, as you lower, the body stays relatively upright, spine stays straight. Breathing in, breathing out. Very straightforward. When you're happy with this, you can do half a dozen of these, warming up gently. The next exercise is simply a slight extension of the first one, a little more effort, a little bit more stretching involved. So here, you're going to bring the hands in, you lace the fingers together, lift the hands level with the chest, turn the palms outwards, push the palms, elbows a little straighter this time, palms a bit more stretched, and if your knees allow it, you sit into a deeper squat. Lifting up, you go onto your toes, you're trying to get onto the big toe. High as you can, don't worry about wobbling around, that's perfectly fine. If you want to take a step forward or back, it doesn't matter. Bring the hands down. So here you're breathing in as you lift. You breathe out as you push. You breathe in as you lift. High as you can, wobble around at the top. And breathe out as you lower. Again here, having the legs straight is important because you want the knees to track in the same direction as the toes. That's really important. Don't want your knees collapsing into the centre. High as you can. And relax. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in, breath out. Very straightforward. And again, once you're comfortable with that, do half a dozen or more of those. But take your time. We're trying to build into the process gently, not overtax the body. It should always feel easy and comfortable. The next exercise involves a forward and backward bending action. Now, if you have any problems with your back, you should moderate the back bend accordingly. And on the forward bend, if you need to, you leave your hands supporting your back by placing your hands just above the knees, taking the body weight. It's very important here that you don't stretch and strain overly hard. The movement should always feel easy, and as I'll demonstrate as we go through them, you should be able to speak in normal tones as you're doing these exercises. If you can't speak normally, you're trying too hard. If you've got any issues with poor balance, then I strongly suggest that you do this with your back towards a sofa or a bed. So if there's any prospect of you falling backwards, then you'll fall onto something soft and you'll have a safer landing. Okay, so the movement initially, we start again with a simple softening of the knees. Bring the hands up with the hands overlapping. Gently push the knees forwards a little, then push the hips forwards, arching the back, opening the chest, lifting the chin, separating the hands. And you're looking straight up to the ceiling. Bring the body upright, bend at the hip. Initially the spine stays straight. Again, as I say, if you need to support your back, you'll place your hands on your knees. And then you take the weight through your hands. If you're doing that version, you simply from here, once you get to that comfortable level with support, you tuck your chin in. I'll explain that later. You then bring the knees forwards, bring the hips underneath a little, and then lift straight up. And then you repeat the movement together. Looking up, bending at the hip, hands down, soften the knees, chin in, lifting up with the hips under, still pushing with the hands. If you're doing the full version, once you've raised the hands, push the knees forward, push the hips forward, arch the back, look up. At this point, you should be aiming to have the majority of your body weight in your toes, not in your heels, so you shouldn't be falling backwards. Bring the body upright, bend at the hip, again straight spine, relax the arms, bending at the hip. As your hamstrings and the lower back start to tighten up, you relax downwards. Let the body weight draw. You notice the elbows are loose, the hands are relaxed. You're not reaching for anything. Tuck the chin into the chest, so you're looking backwards between your knees. Soften the knees, and then starting from the base of the spine with the shoulders and arms still loose, curl the body upwards. Keep the chin tucked in. Bring yourself upright, and then you repeat. You breathe in as you lift. Knees forward, hips forward, weight in the toes. Look up, separate the hands. Body upright, neck straight, bend at the hip. Breathing out as you lower. Arms loose. Chin tucks in, no stretching, easy. Notice I'm talking, I'm not going to hold my breath, control my breath. Soften the knees. Keep the chin tucked in, shoulders loose. Curl gently. Level the body and repeat one more time. Breathing in as you lift. Bending forwards at the hip. Breathing out, lungs emptying, arms relaxed, chin tucks in, knees soften, curl the body up gently, keeping relaxed. So those first few movements are essentially they're focusing on the front and the back of the body, just extending and relaxing. So nothing strained. The aim initially is just to open up and extend, separate the ribs, extend the abdomen, open the hip joints, open the armpits, extend the elbows. These are all these central points for the lymph that we're looking to squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax. Also at the same time, we're extending the muscles, working on the tendon that connects the muscles to the joints. Everything's being moved gently and extended. If you're comfortable with those, we can then move on to a slightly more difficult and challenging version of the same movements. Here we take a wider stance. In martial arts, this is referred to as a horse riding stance, and the position is generally placed with the knees, again, going to the toes. We want the shoulders over the hips and the chin, again, drawn in. So we're sitting in a relatively upright and not too deep a position for this. Again, we're not stretching and strengthening to the point of really breaking out into a sweat. We are here trying to mobilise. So again, we start off, this is like a repeat of the first exercise, just a bigger version of it. So you're breathing in as you lift, legs straighten, palms push. This time you take the elbows slightly backwards, so the armpits are being really extended and the ribs are being lifted. And you sit, lowering, body stays upright, don't stoop. So we're breathing in as we lift. Arms behind, elbows back. Breathing out as we lower. So as I said, here we're just doing a bigger version, bigger openings of the joints, bigger extensions of the muscles, bigger stimulus to the fluid circulation. But fundamentally, it's the same movement. Same will be said of the next exercise. It's just a bigger, more strenuous version. Doing these exercises, one of the things we're trying to work on is our postural awareness. Knowing where the pelvis is, knowing where our shoulders are, knowing if we're primarily in an upright position or if we're allowing ourselves to stoop forwards. Here we're trying to be as upright as we can be. If you feel the muscles of the hip or the lower back pulling you forwards, then that's where the movement stops. So as you sit, when you feel that your hips are pulling you into the posture, then that's where you should be stopping at this point. Try to generate some awareness of how your body works. Breathing in as you lift, out as you lower. The next exercise is an extension of the leaning back and bending forwards exercise. And for this one, there's a part where we bend forwards and we want the back to be straight. Also, ideally, horizontal. So it might be straight on a diagonal or straight horizontal. We do not want it straight with the head lower than the hips. If you do that, you can get blood rushing to your head and it can cause dizziness. So it's straight or slightly upright, but always with a strong, straight spine. Again, if you've got problems with your back, you leave your hands on the knees to support your body weight. That's very important. The back bend element is like the previous back bend, knees forward, hips forward, arching the torso, lifting the chin, separating the hands. Again, very important that you do not overreach. So again, if you need to, you have a bed or something behind you, but primarily the important thing is it's an open stretching movement, not a straining movement. So here we sit a little, we breathe in as we lift, push up for the first one, we sit, body upright, place the hands on the knees, the fingers point in, the elbows point out. Focus on the sternum and bring the sternum down so the shoulders end up being between the elbows. That's a guide for the posture. If you need to, use a mirror or again record yourself to check the shape is correct. If you've got a strong back, you bring the hands off the knees, but keep the shoulders pushing back, pinching towards each other. To get upright, you bring the hips underneath and then you lift. Draw the hands back, knees forward, hips forward, arch the back, lift the chin, body upright, sit. Incline. Hold, keep the shoulders up, don't let them drop, hips under, lift, knees forward, hips forward, lift. In general, the breathing pattern for this exercise is that when the body is upright, you breathe in, When you're moving forwards into a compression posture, you breathe out. There's a brief pause with the lungs empty. You bring the hips under. As you return to vertical, you breathe in. And as you extend, you breathe out. And again, there's a pause with the lungs empty. Breath in. Breath out. Pause. Breathe in. Breathe out. Pause. And that's the basic nature of the exercise. It's a little more strenuous, so don't overdo it. And it's very important that you support your back if you need to. And if your back's in good condition, it's a very good strengthener for the spine and the muscles of the core. So it's a really useful exercise. All of these exercises, as I've said, are in part muscular and in part fluid movement. These big opening movements that we do are designed to open up the lymph nodes, stretch where the lymph nodes are located, and then compress them. So you're opening and squeezing, as we go, as it just cycles through. And that's one of the objectives. The lymph system isn't massively reflected in the side of the body, it's primarily front and back, but there are a couple of sideways movements which are useful to balance, and also because a lot of the lymph system is based in the main vessels in the torso, moving vertically. This is a useful exercise. So here, separate the hands, one palm pushes down, one palm pushes up. The upper arm is close to the ear. You bend the knee, one leg straight, one leg bent, large amount of weight in one leg. You then bend at the waist, the aim being to take the ribs away from the top of the pelvis. So you're opening this side and compressing this side. You then take a deep breath in, and because this is compressed, the breath will tend to get focused on the open side. And you breathe out, and you change sides. Push across, bend at the waist, deep breath in, breathe out as you lift up. Small variation to this as you move across. Again, you start with the arm close to the ear, bend at the waist. Here you take the head away from the arm to open the side of the neck and compress the other side. You take a breath in and change. Arm to the ear, open the waist, take the head away, breath in. And change. Then you can repeat that. Another exercise for the waist area is a more lateral movement. Depending on the leg strength, this one can be done sitting on a chair. You want a straight flat chair, you don't want a soft living room chair, you want a flat dining room chair. Or you can do it in a horse riding stance. Again, the objective is to keep the lower back under, shoulders straight. You can start with a simple version where you're simply rotating with the hands up. Now the aim here, you'll notice the hips are not moving. The movement is entirely focused in the waist and to some degree in the thoracic area. But primarily the waist or the lumbar spine is doing the majority of the rotation with a little bit up in the lumbar spine. We can also then, to increase the extension and do more opening and closing again of the lymph area, you can open the side, palm up, little finger rotates out. So this side where the lymph nodes are rotated is open, the armpit is extended. The other side is closed, so it's being compressed. Then we change. You can vary the height. Generally, as a guide, start off with it relatively high, just above head height. Rotate the palm, little finger up high to bring that spiraling action into the muscles. And also you'll note the head's turning, so the neck is being rotated. So those lymph nodes in the neck are also being squeezed and extended. Very gentle, so soft breath, slightly in, slightly out. Slightly in, slightly out. It's not a deep breath here because the movement, generally speaking, is too quick to match relaxed, deep breathing. So we're doing a gentle respiration, more conversational breath. But the important thing is the hips stay still, which can be more easily achieved if you're sat down. Obviously that's one of the reasons you sit. Apart from leg strength, sitting means the hips tend to stay still. This can be, a variation to this can be added, where the hands come to the abdomen, and you roll through a gentle abdominal massage. Notice the shoulders and the waist are continuing to turn. I'm not simply rolling my arms. The body turns and the other way, both directions a few times. I hope you found those exercises easy to follow. If you do have any questions or observations, then please share them in the comments below the video. Thank you.